Senate will now move to Senators' statements. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. And I rise to speak about this important day coming up in New South Wales this Saturday, Mr Acting Deputy President, of course, the state election. Now, the New South Wales people have a simple decision to make. Do they re-elect the Liberal National Government of Mike Baird and Troy Grant? Let me make this point, Mr Acting Deputy President. 4 years ago, when a coalition government was elected to power in New South Wales, they were running number 7. What I mean by number 7, of the 6 states and 2 territories, they were 7th out of 8 for the performing economy. They are now, Mr Acting Deputy President, number 1, gone from number 7 to number 1 in just 4 years. So the people of New South Wales have an option: re-elect the coalition government led by Premier Mike Baird and Deputy Premier Troy Grant, or be fooled by the untruths and scaremongering by the Labor Party and the trade union movement. Mr Acting Deputy President, even the Labor-leading lights of previous years are disgusted with what they are hearing. Let me make this quote, and I quote this as not my language. Who said, and I quote, "Lie after desperate lies being thrown at the public in an attempt to frighten the electorate into rejecting the Baird government's sensible reforms." Now, Senator O'Sullivan might ask the question, well, who would have said that? Well, was it Premier Mike Baird? No, it wasn't. Was it Deputy Premier Troy Grant? No, Mr Acting Deputy President. It was actually the former New South Wales Labor Treasurer, Mr Michael Costa. I'll repeat what he said. Lie after desperate lies being thrown at the public in an attempt to frighten the electorate into rejecting the Baird government's sensible reforms. Mr Costa also said the unions have already cost the New South Wales public $10 billion by knifing the power privatisation he and Morris Yema attempted in 2008. Now here's another quote, Mr Acting Deputy President. Former Federal Resources Minister Martin Ferguson said recently that the New South Wales trade unions and New South Wales Labor are deliberately misleading the public by telling them that the proposed privatisation of the electricity networks will drive up electricity prices. Mr Ferguson went on to say, and I quote, "It is creating unnecessary fear and trying to scare people into voting for Labor, not on merit, but on misinformation. In many ways, I am ashamed of the party," unquote from Mr Ferguson. Former State Labor Treasurer Mr Mike Legan said in 1997, and I quote, "I am pressing on with electricity privatisation because, as I have pointed out on numerous occasions, I think it is the best course for New South Wales, job creation in New South Wales and every community throughout every nook and cranny." July 2008, former Labor Premier Barry Unsworth said, "Transport, health and public security, all these matters are ones which, in my view, have a greater priority than who delivers electricity throughout your meter. The problem we have got here is that we've got some lunatics here in New South Wales that can't comprehend this." Then we have former Prime Minister Paul Keating backing privatisation, as does former Labor leader Mark Latham. The ACCC Productivity Commission and peak business organisations have all called for privatisation. It is amazing that the electrical trade union is running around the state claiming the sky will fall in if New South Wales power assets are privatised. Yet when Labor was in power, electricity prices increased by 60% over 5 years. 60% over 5 years. That's how much electricity price went up when the Labor government was in power in New South Wales. The Australian newspaper of the 11th of March reported that Australians who live in states with privatised electricity supplies have faced smaller price rises over the past 2 decades than their counterparts in other states. The fact in New South Wales is leasing, not selling. They're not going to privatise the whole network. They're actually going to lease 49% of the power assets. Except for one thing, Mr Acting Deputy President, Essential Energy is quarantined from that lease. It'll remain in public hands. You go out to regional and rural Australia, New South Wales, Essential Energy is a provider. And so I'm very pleased that the Nationals have secured the quarantine of that lease of Essential Energy. Of the $20 billion expected to flow from this leasing, $6 billion will be spent in regional New South Wales. This will be spent on roads and bridges, on health and education, helping our regional communities. For example, with health. Health has always been a big priority for the Nationals. Nationals members live in rural communities and they don't just read about problems like the distance to hospitals and medical services. They live in their communities and experience the very same problem. Look at what the Nationals members in regional New South Wales have delivered. Let me refer to Kevin Anston, member for Tamworth. Kevin fought hard to secure $100 million from the state for the Tamworth Hospital upgrade on top of the federal government's $120 million. The new hospital includes 81 additional treatment spaces, including 32 extra beds, and Kevin Anderson also secured $300,000 for the upgrade of Gundah Hospital Emergency Department. Great news also for the people in the Northern Rivers. When the people wanted a champion to take up the fight to have the Lismore-based hospital upgraded, they turned to the member for Lismore, Mr Thomas George. As a result, a re-elected Nationals team in government will deliver $180 million to finally complete the Lismore-based hospital. What a great win for Thomas George in that area. There will be a helipad on top of the main tower, new operating theatres, a maternity suite, paediatric unit and medical imaging centre and more beds. The Northern Rivers community is grateful they have a local champion in Thomas George. The communities of Inverell and Armidale are rejoicing at news delivered to them by the member for Northern Tablelands. In the company of the State Nationals leader Troy Grant, local member Adam Marshall announced Armidale Hospital redevelopment would get $60 million and Inverell Hospital, where I live, would get a $30 million upgrade. For many, many years, both communities have been crying out for an upgrade, and again it has taken a Nationals member to deliver, in coalition in the New South Wales Government. Just down the road from here in Monero electorate, John Barilaro stepped in and got the Cooma dialysis up and running, and an upgrade of Cooma Hospital. So when it comes to health, this New South Wales Coalition Government has spent over $1 billion upgrading hospitals and has outlined plans to spend another $2 billion in the communities I have mentioned, plus areas like the Tweed, Mudgee and Coffs Harbour. Likewise, Mr Acting Deputy President, in relation to roads and bridges, I was in the Upper Hunter recently for the announcement of some excellent road funding. Hopefully this Saturday the member for Upper Hunter, George Souris, will be handing the baton across to Michael Johnson, who is the Mayor of Upper Hunter Shire. 4 years ago the Nationals announced resources for regions, and it was estimated $160 million would be spent in mining affected communities. In fact, $217 million flowed in, and this program will continue. Resources for regions is allowing the upgrade of major roads in the Singleton Shire, $2 million for an overtaking lane on New England Highway, and $4 million for Muswellbrook Council to upgrade a number of local roads used by mining-related vehicles. Mr Acting Deputy President, I come back to the Nationals record in Government in New South Wales. $13 billion for better roads, hospitals and schools. More than 2,000 extra nurses, teachers and police into our communities. 25,000 more jobs in regional New South Wales. And a plan to invest $6 billion into new and improved roads, rail networks, water supplies and hospitals. Mr Acting Deputy President, the facts certainly can't be lost in the hysteria as what's been going on. As I said in the chamber before, there should have been no agricultural land, mining on primary agricultural land, and the Liverpool Plains is off limits. But we have people like the failed independent Peter Draper, who was thrown out by the people at the last election in attempting to get his old job back, running around claiming to be the Messiah when it comes to mining. Mr Draper was in the State Parliament as a member for Tamworth and did absolutely nothing when Labor handed out licence after licence. He did absolutely nothing. He sat there and was mute while the Labor Party handed out licences affecting mining in those regions. Mr Acting Deputy President, before I finish I want to say thank you and well served to 5 retiring Nationals. Firstly, Andrew Stone steps down after a stellar career serving the people of Oxley since 1999 and was leader of the New South Wales Nationals from 2003 to 2014. Andrew will always be remembered as the man who kept the Nationals together during some tough times, when there were plenty who were predicting the demise of the party. He kept the party together, and I wish Andrew and his wife Cathy and family all the best for the future. Another former party leader, George Souris, also retires on Saturday. George has been a member for Upper Hunter since 1988. That's what you call electorate loyalty. He was state leader from 1999 to 2003, and in his time held a number of ministerial portfolios. I wish Vassie and George all the best as George finally walks out of Macquarie Street. Bowing out also as a member for Ballina, Don Page, taking a break for the first time since his election to the seat in 1988. Don was also a Deputy Leader of the Nationals from 2002 to 2007 and a Minister in the current government. My best wishes go to Don and Liz. And my namesake in State Parliament, John Williams, lost his seat due to a redistribution. We refer to him as not Whacker Williams. There's a way we distinguish between John and I. John was a great champion of the far western region and flew his aeroplane around so he could cover the 250,000 square kilometres. My good friend Jenny Garden, MLC, all the best to you, Jenny, for many years of good service.
Thank you, Senator Williams.